So if you are an intermediate level guitar player, or maybe you've been playing for a while but you're just starting to get more serious about it, you may be looking to upgrade one element of your rig or another. And so in today's video, I'm going to try to help you answer the question of which one is more important. Which one should I upgrade first, my guitar or my amp? So we're going to be using a cheap guitar into an expensive amp. We're also going to be using an expensive guitar into a cheap amp and see which one sounds better, and we're going to see what they do, clean, dirty, with pedals, all of that good stuff. And at the end of the video, for fun, we're going to see what the cheap rig, cheap guitar and amp sounds like compared to the expensive rig, expensive guitar and amp, and see, is there really that much difference, and is tone all in the fingers? So if you haven't subscribed already, please do that. Like this video, any thoughts in the comments below, and let's jump in. Alright, so let's talk about the guitars we're going to be using in today's video. First things first, we're looking at this Squier Affinity Series Strat. These are somewhere around $200 US new. We're going to be comparing that against this Suhr Classic S Antique, my favorite guitar. I really love this one, the best Strat style guitar I've owned, and this is somewhere around $3,000 US. So there's a huge price difference between these two. Now, what I expect is that these are going to sound a little different because they do have different pickups, but the differences are mostly going to be the things that you're not going to hear. It's going to be things like playability, intonation, how well they stay in tune. See, a guitar like this, I rarely have to tune. I mean, of course I tune at every opportunity, but this thing can go in my car for a day or something like that in the Alabama heat and still be in tune when I get it out of the case. Something like this, I have to tune as soon as I get it off the stand. Now, there's again a huge price difference, so some of that's to be expected. But I think when you're thinking about upgrading either your guitar or your amp, one thing that's important to consider is the playability. If you're constantly fighting the guitar because even if it's set up well, it's just not your favorite, and maybe you don't like the neck, maybe it's got some sharp fret ends and some other things that could use a little bit more quality control, something like this, I'll do things on that I would never attempt with something like this Squier. So playability is very important because at the end of the day, this is the instrument that you have your hands on. The amplifier, I think, is going to be a huge, huge factor when it comes to tone, but I think this is going to be what inspires you to play better. Again, that's just my thoughts, and since I mentioned the amps, let's go ahead and look at what amps we're going to be using in today's video. Alright, so for the cheap or inexpensive amp option, we are looking at the PV Classic 30. And I've chosen this amp because I think it presents great value for money. If I had $300–400 to spend on an amplifier that I could gig with, this would absolutely be it. I would pick this over the Fender Blues Jr., hands down. Hot take, but I do think I'm right. I think this amp sounds great, clean, and even the overdriven tones are actually really usable. It's also got spring reverb, 3-band EQ, and a boost option. Again, very similar to something like the Blues Jr., but I actually think PV did it better, which is not something that I find myself saying often or really ever other than this. So this is the cheap amp. Let's talk about the expensive amp. So for the other amp, we've got my 1967 Deluxe Reverb. Now this amp, much more expensive than the PV Classic 30, and I think changing your amp is going to have a bigger overall impact on your tone than changing your guitar. So if you're not super happy with your tone overall, if you're looking at upgrading from a cheap Strat to a more expensive Strat, I don't necessarily think that's going to have a big impact. But if you're looking at upgrading your amp significantly to something that's hand-wired by a boutique builder or even by a bigger company, I think that's going to have a bigger impact on your tone overall. So what I think is going to happen is that the Squier into the Deluxe Reverb is going to sound better than the Suhr into the Classic 30. Now, I think I'm going to enjoy playing the Suhr more, but I think I'm going to get better tones out of the Squier with the Deluxe Reverb. But that's just what I think's going to happen. I haven't recorded the audio yet, so let's find out what actually happens. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope this has been helpful for you. If it has, please like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And as promised, let's hear what the expensive rig, the Sur into the Deluxe Reverb, sounds like compared to the Squire into the Peavey. Keep in mind, there are many thousands of dollars that separate these two rigs, and I'm not necessarily sure there's going to be many thousands of dollars worth of difference, but let's hear what it sounds like. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.